Saturday the 27th of June 2020. I'm going to spend a couple of days cycling to the Canal du Midi. I'm just cycling to a small town halfway to Montauban today. I forgot the name of the town. I've circled it on my map. There's a small campsite there. And then tomorrow I'll be cycling to Montauban, and I'm hoping then that I'll be leaving this. It's a very scenic region, but in the hot weather it's very hilly, it's very hard work. And when I get to the Canal du Midi, I won't have to cycle any higher than 189 meters. And I know that. I was watching a documentary about the Canal du Midi last night, and the highest point is 189 meters above sea level. So once I get to Montauban, it should be quite easy cycling all the way down to the coast. So today I'm heading for the town of Montpezat-de-Courcy, and the campsite is the Camping Le Fayal. I've just arrived at the camping. This is the Camping Fayal. It's closed at the moment. I'm a bit early, it's 2 o'clock. They don't open until 4 o'clock. But I've just phoned the phone number on the door, and they said, yeah, we've got loads of room, just wait till 4. It's had a lot of good recommendations, this campsite, on the internet. It's got a snack bar as well, which I'm quite grateful for, because I had to, when I dumped a lot of stuff back in Cahors, I got rid of my coffee stove, the stove I use for making my morning coffee. So I'm always looking out for bars and things now to have a morning coffee. So I'm just gonna sit in the shade and have a Coke now, and wait for the campsite to open. This is the département I've just arrived in, the Le Tarn-et-Garonne. I've just arrived on the edge. I've just arrived at Montpezat, and tomorrow I'll be cycling down to Montauban and then carrying on southeastwards towards Toulouse. So if the weather stays like this, it will be a really nice ride. I'm just going to have a look around the town centre. So just settled into the campsite. I think it was €15, which I think is quite good value for money, because you do get quite a big site. Plus it's very grassy and there's a lot of shade. So I'm going to go to the snack bar now for a cup of coffee and carry on tomorrow morning to Montauban. So good night. Sunday the 28th of June. So today I'm heading for the Aveyron River Valley, which I'll be following down to Montauban. And then I'll be leaving the very hilly Massif Central region, and I'll be heading for there's a region of lowland. It's a very long strip of lowland that runs between the Pyrenees and the Massif Central. And I'll be cycling along there for the next few days. So it should be very easy cycling now. I'm very close to Montauban now. So this is the Aveyron River. I've been following it for a few miles. It's a very nice, quiet, flat road for the last few miles, but it's a pity I couldn't really see the river until now. So now I'm just going to cycle into the centre of Montauban, have a look at the tourist sites, and then I'm going to look for my hotel. I'm staying in a hotel tonight, and then carrying on. I'll be staying in a campsite tomorrow night on the way to Toulouse. This is a very nice cycle path going into the centre of Montauban. Just arrived in the centre of Montauban, so I'm just going to have a quick look around the town centre before heading off to my hotel. Monday the 29th of June, so a nice night at my favourite hotel chain, Premier Class, and now I'm heading for the Eurovelo bicycle network. So the reason I like Premier Class hotels, they're quite cheap for a start. They're about €35 a night, but you know exactly what you're getting, because every single Premier Class hotel building in France are all designed exactly the same as all the others, and all the rooms are exactly the same. They tend to be on industrial estates on the edge of the towns, close to an autoroute. So it's very much a no-frills hotel for travellers like lorry drivers and so on. But I quite like them. My only complaint about them is that there's only one electrical socket. There's one for the television, of course, and then you just got one more. So it's a very useful thing to have a multi-socket adapter, because I've got lots of things to charge up, of course, with my the camera and the phone and everything. I've just arrived at the Canal du Midi. This is a connecting canal for Montauban, and it heads down to the Canal of Two Seas. Now, I thought I was heading straight down to the Canal du Midi, but the Canal du Midi doesn't actually start until Toulouse, and that heads down to the Med coast. But it's linked to the Atlantic by the Canal de Garonne, and both the Canal de Garonne and the Canal du Midi make up what they call the Canal of Two Seas. So then now there's a cycle path here that goes down to the Canal de Garonne, and this links me up to the international Eurovelo network, which goes right across Europe. So for pretty well most of the time now, for my time in Europe, I'll be on these cycle paths. For about 90% of the time between here and Germany, I'll be on the Eurovelo network. They tend to be very safe, very quiet routes. Quite often they're just quiet roads, but countries like Germany and Holland, they'll have specially made cycle routes. So now for the next few weeks it should be quite a very safe and quiet and enjoyable journey. I think I mentioned in a previous video that vélo is French for bicycle, so that's why the European Cycle Network is just known as the Eurovelo network. So here's the junction where the Canal du Midi meets the Canal de Garonne. So I'll be following this now all the way down to the Med coast, depending on accommodation. If there's no campsites or anything, I might have to head up into the hills again to camp. Before the Canal de Garonne was built, they had to use the River Garonne to transport goods from the Atlantic to Toulouse. But the problem with the Garonne, it's a very turbulent river. It comes down from the Pyrenees, so in the winter there's a huge flow of water coming down. So in the 19th century they decided to build the canal instead. So this canal is 193 kilometers long. I think it's about 115 miles. There's 143 architectural features, including 53 locks, 83 bridges and 7 aqueducts. And it took 17 years to build. They started to build it in 1838 and it was opened in 1856. I've just arrived in the small town of Grisol, I think it's pronounced. There's a campsite not far from here, so I think I'm going to stop here. It's about halfway to Toulouse now. Just arrived at Aquitaine camping, where I'll be spending tonight. So just arrived at Aquitaine camping at Grisol. It's okay campsite, I guess. It's €13.50 for one night. So now I'm just going to settle down and plan my route to Toulouse tomorrow. So good night. Tuesday the 30th of June. Today I'm cycling into Toulouse, where I'll be staying for 3 nights at an Airbnb. Toulouse is the 4th largest city in France. It has around 500,000 inhabitants. And because a lot of the earlier buildings were built out of brick, it's known as the Pink City, because when there's a certain type of sunlight, it gives off like a pinkish hue. But today I won't be visiting the site, so I'm just looking for my Airbnb place, and then tomorrow I'll be doing a lot more sightseeing. Wednesday, the 1st of July 2020. So today I'm cycling into the centre of Toulouse to have a look around. Although Toulouse is quite a large city, it looks like it's quite easy to negotiate on a bicycle, because you've got the River Garonne running straight through the centre with a cycle path running all the way. And fortunately my Airbnb is just a few meters away from this cycle path, so I can just walk out the door and I can just cycle straight into the centre. And also there's the canal network, because there are 3 canals which meet at the centre of Toulouse, and they've all got cycle paths as well. So that's how I'll be leaving tomorrow morning. I'll be following the Canal du Midi cycle path down to the southeast. So now I'm going to head down to the Le Pont Neuf, which is, I always go to the rivers to get a good shot of towns, because that's usually where the best shots are. So I'm heading down to the Pont Neuf to have a look at the city centre. Wow, this is a really nice cycle route heading into the centre, and this is one of the reasons I love cycling in France. So this is the Pont Neuf. It was built in the late 16th century, and as every YouTube video on Toulouse will tell you, it's called the New Bridge, but it's actually the oldest bridge in Toulouse. Now I hope my GoPro can make it out, but just down there's a tiny little red statue it's called the Child with the Dunce Cap, and this was put in 2017 by a plastic artist called James Colomina, and it's meant to represent everyone who is sidelined, stigmatised or isolated from society. The 3 canals I mentioned earlier are the Canal de Brion, the Canal du Midi and the Canal de Garonne, and they all, there's a junction just over there where they meet. The Canal de Brion connects the River Garonne to the other 2 canals, so there's a kind of, just up there, there's like a junction which I'll be looking for tomorrow, because then I'll be following the Canal du Midi out of the city. This is a really nice 16th century Renaissance building. Although Toulouse is known as the Pink City, it was actually blue woad. It was the pastel. That was a big industry here in the 16th century. And the families who made a lot of money, they built these really nice buildings. This is the Hôtel du Bernay, I think. I'm just going to have a look at the name. I'm in the main centre of Toulouse now. This is La Place du Capitole, which is the main hub of the city. It's named after a chapter of French magistrates, Les Capitouls, and they used to meet in this 18th century building, which is now the town hall, the Hôtel de Ville. And this is the sort of the main social area of the city. So just off La Place du Capitole is the Rue de Tours, which is where it originated from Street of the Bull. halfway down La Rue du Tour is this church. It's called the Church of Notre Dame du Tour. So the church marks the spot where in 250 AD, Saint Saturnin, the first bishop of Toulouse, was executed by the Romans. They just tied him to a bull and the bull gored him to death. And this is where he is buried. Actually, I got that a bit wrong. He was originally buried there, but there were so many pilgrims that came to visit the church that they decided to move his bones over to a much larger building further up the street. So at the end of the La Rue du Tour, this is the Basilica de Saints Saturnin. The basilica, it was built in the 12th century, and it's so popular with pilgrims now. There's the very familiar red and yellow pilgrimage sign. So this is the way of Saint James. So this is the pilgrimage route that eventually goes down to Spain and Santiago de Compostela. This is another famous religious building in Toulouse. This is the 14th century Jacobin convent. So it's a Gothic construction, and the bit that everyone recommends is at the apse, where there's what's known as the palm tree. It's a column, it's a Gothic column, culminating with 22 ribs at the roof that curve out, which forms the vault. So I'm just going to have I'm going to go inside now and have a quick look around. This is a nice little pedestrianised square just behind La Place du Capitole. This is the main shopping area. This is La Rue Alsace-Lorraine. So the next big town I'm planning on visiting is Carcassonne, which is about 3 days cycle ride along the Canal du Midi. So I'm going back to the Airbnb now to plan my route. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to upload my next one soon. Bye!